It is no longer news that Nigerians both at home and in diaspora who uses the airports regularly has berated and bemoaned how aviation workers, staff, extort passengers while on their trip. However, the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamu, has established that cameras have been installed in strategic locations across our airport nationwide to curb these extortionary measures by aviation workers.
When we came into office, we took time to look at the core of the problems we have in the aviation industry. And one of the major problems we discovered is that our airlines, local operators, they lack access to financing the purchase of the aircrafts, either on dry leases, especially on dry leases, and even on wet leases. And that there was dwindling confidence in the Nigerian market by international leasers and financiers. Now, how is that important? Now, this is important, Constance, because all over the world, there is no single airline company, be it even the biggest ones, that can maintain their fleet based on 100% purchase of the aircraft. None of them.
Aviation industry, a sector that connects millions of Nigerians and foreigners alike, facilitating commerce, travel, and tourism. The aviation industry is witnessing significant developments, from policy shifts to ambitious partnerships and renegotiation of agreements. There's quite a bit of movement. Recently, Nigeria signed a memorandum of understanding with Boeing, a global leader in aircraft manufacturing. The country has also successfully complied with the Cape Town Convention, raising its rating from 49% to 70.5%. At the same time, there are issues of poor infrastructure, inefficiency at the airport, and other struggles faced by domestic airlines. Then there's a question of a national carrier, if Nigeria is to be viewed as a global player in the industry. The big question remains, what measures are being put in place to handle all of this? Honorable Minister of Aviation, Mr. Festus Keyamu. Great to have you, Honorable Minister.
Constance, good to see you this evening.
Good to see you. So let's start with the good news. The Cape Town Convention, our global scores or rating has increased as a consequence. Tell us, what are the implications of this for the aviation industry?
Well, thank you so much. And the upward movement continues, and I'll come to that. You'll see that in the next few weeks. So we are not even satisfied with the 70.5 we've achieved now. But let me tell you the implication of this. When we came into office, we took time to look at the core of the problems we have in the aviation industry. And one of the major problems we discovered is that our airlines, local operators, they lack access to financing the purchase of the aircrafts, either on dry leases, especially on dry leases, and even on wet leases. And that there was dwindling confidence in the Nigerian market by international leasers and financiers. Now, how is that important? Now, this is important, Constance, because all over the world, there is no single airline company, be it even the biggest ones, that can maintain their fleet based on 100% purchase of the aircraft. None of them. Even the Emirates you hear about, the Qatar, the British Airways, none of them, Delta, all of them. They rely basically on dry leases. Dry leases, for us to understand it, the ordinary person, is what they call hire purchase. You know, we used to do hire purchase Okada with vehicles and all that. You take it because you don't have the full money to purchase it, but as you operate, you have milestones to reach. So every month, you pay a certain amount back to the person who gave it to you until you finish the payment for the particular vehicle. That is it. So when we identified this problem, Constance, we said, why are they not bringing their aircrafts? Because it now crippled the industry in the sense that, and that's what you are seeing in high yes. ticket prices. Because when they go out to get these aircrafts, they give them very tough conditions. They get them on wet leases, not dry leases. Wet leases will mean that they give them the crew, they give them the pilots, the everything, and they pay them in dollars and all that. And the condition, insurance is very high.
That's why we see Chinese faces,
exactly,
or foreign faces in our local airlines.
Correct, Constance.
As crew.
Correct, Constance. Those are ACMIs. You see, they call them wet leases ACMIs, and so they now pass on the cost of this expensive higher purchase. They pass it on to the tickets, and so the core of the problem, therefore, to acquire newer aircrafts to service this route. It also translates to delays in flights, cancellations and all that, because the lack of capacity to service this route. It's very simple. We now went around the world and said, look, why are we in this position? We were told by the Aviation Working Group, that is the group that supervises the implementation of and the compliance with the Cape Town Convention all over the world. The Cape Town Convention, to break it down, I don't want to be using technical words, is a convention that regulates the leasing of aircrafts around the world and how countries should behave when aircrafts that are leased are within their territories. And they say Nigeria has not been complying with the terms of that convention because in the past, when they bring aircrafts into Nigeria, certain unscrupulous businessmen, perhaps in connivance also with regulators, with government regulators, they go to court, they detain these aircraft, they use what in local parlance we call wuru-wuru and all of that. They make sure that these creditors do not have access to their aircraft again. And it has happened in the past. And then the word went around the world and said, Nigeria is not safe to bring aircrafts in. I told them, what do you want me to do? They said they had written letters in the past, and I saw letters they had written over and over in the past, drawing our attention to this fact, and nobody listened to them. And I said, look, this is my field. This is easy. I spoke with the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the immediate past one, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, and he was very helpful. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, he assigned a Justice of the Supreme Court to work with us. The Attorney General of the Federation was extremely helpful. I complained to the Vice President of Nigeria as head of the Presidential Independent Business Council, which is of new business. He was a Trojan in this, the Vice President. He rallied everybody and said they should please support this effort in me. So because of my profession and the fact that this is my field, it was easy for us to draft this Cape Town Convention. We went back and forth. We sent, and then Justice Nyako of the Federal High Court, I must mention give credit to all of those who rallied around. Justice Nyako headed the panel of 5 judges who looked at this draft for us. We sent it to New York and London, the Aviation Working Group. They made their input, they sent it back, and then the Vice President at the meeting of the Presidential Business Delivery Council, he called the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, and it was a ceremonial signing. Okay. Guess what? Within 24 hours, Constance, the Aviation Working Group, they were so elated. They said they never knew Nigeria could respond this way. Right. And they jumped our scores, and they told the entire world of leasers that we had now fully compliant. Okay. And that's why they gave us 17.5. But there's one more thing left. Right. There's what they call the IDERA. IDERA, the Cape Town Convention, the practice direction are judicial remedies, judicial procedures. There's also what they call the administrative procedures, whereby after all of this judgment, or even without the judgment, the NCA, the regulator, is also mandated by the Cape Town Convention to release that aircraft within 5 days, 5 working days. There were no rules in that regard before. As I speak with you today, I mandated them, I gave them marching orders, and we have drafted those rules, those administrative rules. I made corrections this morning. We sent it back again to the Aviation Working Group. Right. And guess what? Once that is signed, we are moving up from 70.5 to about 80 or so. But I don't know the scores we are moving to. So it's to tell you that we have addressed the core of this problem for access to lease that will affect cancellation of flights, delays in flights, flight tickets, a part of it, because one of the biggest chunk again is Jet A14, but this is one of the biggest chunk of ticket price or ticketing. So
you've answered my second question, which is it's partly going to contribute to solving the problem of
flight delays, cancellation, because you know why? They don't have the aircraft to service these routes. Right. Both local, regional and international routes. They don't have it. Right. And that is why we are not competing with the best. Air France is coming to Nigeria 10 times a week. Yes. We are not going to Paris. Yes. Delta and United, they are coming to Nigeria from America. We are not going to America. Lufthansa is coming from Germany, from Frankfurt. We are not going to Frankfurt. So on and on like that. So many Basa routes, we are not having the reciprocity.
Right.
We're not igniting our reciprocity to service this route. This is the answer to all of that.
Okay, so one problem solved. There's another problem, which is maintenance of aircrafts. Most of the airlines have to go abroad, maintain their aircrafts, and sometimes they abandon them there because they do not have enough forex to bring them here. Are we anywhere near building our own maintenance facilities in Nigeria and sustaining them?
That's what they call
Where are we?
That's what they call the MROs.
Yeah.
Maintenance, repair, and overhaul facilities.
Right.
We're attacking that headlong. We told most of these people bringing the aircrafts, okay? They are signing agreements with them. You don't bring most of your aircrafts here without establishing an MRO. It's one of the things we extracted from Boeing when we went to Boeing. And I'm going to come to Boeing, and they said they are going to assist us. Not that they're going to directly, but they're going to assist us to provide technical support in establishing MRO. But let me tell you where we are in MROs now. Ibom Air has gone far. Their MRO is about, for narrow bodies though, not the wide bodies. Narrow bodies is about 90% complete. And then they are provided with technical support by Airbus of France. And that's why I went to Airbus the other time too. So Ibom Air has gone far with that. We have also signed an agreement on PPP to establish an MRO in Abuja. That has been signed. And it's only by way of PPP because government cannot, of course, fund it fully now. We are also advertising. It's one of the PPPs we want to do in the aviation ministry. We're advertising for the world, for people to come and invest in MROs. Why are we doing this? The market is ripe. The business case is beautiful because in the whole of West Africa and Central Africa, there's no major MRO. There's some in Addis Ababa, but it's only for Ethiopian Airline. Egypt has one or two for their own airlines, and South Africa. But in the whole of West and Central Africa, no. So you can see that it's a big market, especially for the 737, which is like the taxi of the world.
Right.
If we can have an MRO for the 737, it will be beautiful. So we are advertising for this, and we know we have identified this because you see, most of the major fleets we have, people, owners of fleets in Nigeria, at times their aircrafts, they go and line up for 2 months abroad to just get access and to be towed into a maintenance facility for normal C checks. They wait because, most of those MROs are crowded, yeah, and then they have to go and queue. And whilst they are queuing, their fleet here will dwindle.
Yes.
So they have 10 aircraft, they take 5 away. Yes. 5 of them are now struggling to service the routes that they are normally servicing. Warri, Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and on and down, Kaduna. So you can see they are struggling. You see one aircraft we're trying to flog, around Nigeria every day, and then there are flight delays and cancellations. So we know that is the core of the problem, so right, one of the core of the problems.
So let's stay on Forex for a little bit.
Yeah.
Almost everything in this industry is dollar denominated.
Everything.
Maintenance, purchase,
except catering,
training,
yes,
that's
and
everything. Why I said almost everything. So they still struggle with Forex. They have asked for a special window to get legitimate Forex. What are you doing on that? Are you heeding to this request or demand?
100%.
Right.
One of my major KPIs is to support the growth and development of the local airlines. Nobody has done that before. They will tell you that. And that's why, of course, you have seen them of late, the airline operators of Nigeria. The moment they saw my direction and where I'm going, they're all kidding with me and they all encourage me and they've all been full of praises for us. But thanks be to God for that because we got our objective spot on. Because if I don't, in fact, some people sarcastically, they were saying that you are Minister of Local Airlines. If I am not Minister of Local Airlines, who am I superintending over? I'm Minister of Aviation over what? Minister of Aviation of Ethiopian Airline or Ethiopia. I prefer to be called a minister of a local airline than minister of a foreign airline. I like that phrase, minister of a local airline, of local airlines. So because that is the industry here.
Right.
I will not be minister if they are not there. So I have to look after them. And I thought that it was time for us to support their growth. So bringing it to dovetailing into what you asked. It is one of my objectives to ensure they have access to Forex.
Okay. How
we have
soon
also,
is that going to happen?
The CBN is looking into that and pushing for that.
Okay.
Don't forget that one of the first things the CBN did was to also take care of the airline industry when we came on board, this government. Credit to the CBN governor. By the time we made our case and the president gave his directive, we worked closely with them. That is why you can see that we cleared the backlog of trapped funds to foreign airlines. Credit to the CBN governor, credit to the president. They identified aviation as one of the key, drivers of our economy, and they attended to it first. So it is something that they are looking at, and very soon I'm pushing for it.
Okay.
I'm standing in that gap for them, for the local airlines. They should have access to,
right.
enough foreign exchange.
Under former President Goodluck Jonathan, the minister then, Mrs. Stella Dua, tried to get Nigeria into Heathrow Airport. Air Peace is trying to do that, and if there are other airlines that want to fly abroad, it's a major airport. You are making efforts. Where are we on that?
Well, we are making there are some things going on behind the scene, but it's not the time, to put it in the press. In fact, that letter I wrote some time ago, it was not intended for the press, but I don't know where it leaked from. Because, such diplomatic issues, you don't just rush to the press over them. So we intended to make it purely diplomatic, through diplomatic channels, to express our dissatisfaction with the way they are treating our local airlines. We have designated Air Peace as our flag carrier to run that route. When I came into office, remember there was a debacle as to the fact that we even had no access to London at all. Absolutely no access. And then, of course, we had to make a lot of shuttle back and forth to London. And then we finally got Heathrow. In fact, like I said, I had to stand in the gap because they thought that Air Peace had no backing of the federal government. Don't forget that the BASA routes are not owned by private airlines. All BASAs are owned by the sovereign states. We negotiate BASAs. You don't negotiate BASAs with private airlines. So when the federal government now owns the BASA, one gets those rights, you now give those rights out to private airlines. Say, you take this route, you take this route, you take that route. So we designated Air Peace. And so it was our duty, therefore, to go and impress upon the British government that right we have over the BASA we signed, we have given it to this private airline to use. And so we needed to stand in that gap. And so it took my intervention to put my foot down before we got Heathrow. However, we were not satisfied. But I told Alan then, my brother Alan, I said, you know what, let us start from somewhere. He was remonstrating. I said, no, let us start from Gatwick. Let's start from somewhere. Yes. However, the moment that started, we shifted our attention to Heathrow. And I've written a letter to my counterpart in Britain, in the UK. I said, Heathrow is our right because we are giving you our Tier 1 airport here. You have to give us your own Tier 1 airport. Yes. They said, well, there are some concessions, there are some slot allocation companies that are in charge of slots and all of that. But the point we are making is that you cannot sell your rights to the slot company without the slot company taking into account your own commitments to other people, third parties. They have to also take on those liabilities also. That is simple law. For all law students, no. They must take over those commitments that the British government are already committed to.
Let's talk about Nigeria Air. When you resumed office, you suspended the entire project from the former Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika. He has been charged by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for fraud. Can you tell us how much we wasted on that venture? You've already explained why you suspended it. You said it was a fraud. How much have we wasted from that venture, and are you confident we're going to get the money back?
Well, I don't want to go into figures. Now, there were budgetary provisions. I'm not too sure. But that was even not my concern. My concern was that it wasn't good for the Nigerian states. Right? Now, apart from the government suspending it, the court itself has declared it illegal. So it's not a matter of government suspending it. The courts have come in. So it is dead by the judgment of the court. However, just to reiterate our position, the Ethiopian airline is owned by the Ethiopian government. It's not a private entity. And so what happened was that the Ethiopian airline, now owned by the Ethiopian government, came to Nigeria to say, look, we want to have the majority stake or one of the single biggest stakeholders in your national carrier. And we agreed to them. The meaning of that, simple, Constance, is that, just to break it down, is that Ethiopian government was coming to take over all our Bassa routes. Very simple. You have your Bassa routes there. You now come to Nigeria as a government, a foreign government. You now enjoy all of those Bassa routes because as a national, not just a flag carrier, it's a national carrier. It's our common heritage, our common patrimony. This is national carrier. And so they will have preeminence over local airlines to fly our most prized routes, London, New York, Jeddah, Johannesburg, Paris, and all of that. That is scary, that a foreign government is coming to take over all of those routes. Not only that, the executives, the major positions in Air Nigeria, I'm not saying all, but the major ones, CEO, Director of Operations, Finance, all of them were reserved for Ethiopians, not Nigerians. So the CEO of a Nigerian air, Constant, that is scary, is an Ethiopian, not a Nigerian CEO. Again, the agreement, the draft agreement, and those who are disputing it, I'll give a copy to you. You see it. The CEO, the workers who are coming from Ethiopia, they said they will employ a lot of them and come here. They were exempted from paying tax.
Right. Even
from their salaries, they won't pay tax to the Nigerian government. Put down in writing. What kind of and then that would have effectively killed our local aviation industry completely. So they were also given the right to fly locally, not internationally. Lagos, Abuja, Lagos, Ethiopian Air.
Okay, so are you toying with the idea of floating a national airline, or is that out of the door for now, at least?
Well, it's the president has to give a directive on where we are going on that, okay? But then, if we have to float a national carrier, for those who are listening, who are still standing on the fence, I'm sure they have seen the evil there now. If we have to float a national carrier, it has to be wholly Nigerian. It may not be the Nigerian state, but wholly Nigerian for the benefit of Nigeria, with all the benefits coming to the Nigerian economy. One of those facilitators of the Nigerian air, one American man, you have seen him, has been jumping from one station to the other, crying that Nigeria lost FDI, foreign direct investment, and all that. In those days, we call it in local parlance, FAO. What direct foreign investment? All the profits were going to Addis Ababa anyway. Those places they were bringing them on wet leases, and we're going to pay for them. We're going to pay $112 million over a period of 3 years. Nigerian state, we pay to Addis Ababa. There was no firm agreement to build a hub here. We're going to use our existing. So what is the direct investment? I don't know. Right. We're just deceiving and gaslighting Nigerians. So it was bad from A to Z. I am not indicting anybody. Let me make it clear on this program. I am not. They may have meant well. Those who pushed the idea before me, my predecessors may have meant well. But maybe they didn't have the benefit of legal knowledge and training that I have to look at these agreements with the lenses of legal expertise.
So we signed an MOU with Boeing.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what that means.
Well, it is part of also trying to assess the world of aircraft leasers and financiers. I first went to Airbus with all the local operators in Nigeria, and I went to Boeing too. And at Boeing, it appeared we struck something like close to gold, because Boeing was very, very interested in the Nigerian market. They have their own market survey of the Nigerian market, and they feel that Nigeria is the next destination in Africa for which they want to invest. We went there, not even on our invitation, on their own invitation. They were so interested in Nigeria, they invited us over, and I took all the airline operators along. There are 9 key points of that agreement we signed. That's MOU.
That's a lot. So.
But it's a lot. But just the highlight of it is that they want to stand in the gap for us to help us assess the world of leasers and aircraft, financiers, because they are the ones who have the network. They want to leverage on that network. Why do they have the network? The aircraft manufacturers are the ones who assess the financiers. When you order for 10 planes, you can't pay for them. Then the financiers will come in and help you finance your order. And then you now take it, the financiers will now get the order and give it to you on dry lease. And you continue to pay the financiers. Why the financiers pay the manufacturers 100%. Do you understand me? That's how. So they have the network around the world. And so they know that Nigeria is a massive economy, biggest in Africa. That's what I told them. I said, this is a symbiotic relationship. It's not parasitic. You have a big economy to come and invest in. Look, in their survey, guess what? Lagos-Abuja route is the highest in Africa. More than Joburg, Cape Town, more than Marrakesh and this thing. All these local flights. Lagos-Abuja accounts for 80% of domestic travel in the entire Africa. That's us. That's our power. We have the market.
If we didn't have the market, all these airlines wouldn't be coming to the country.
Exactly. Yeah. So Boeing is now, and with the signing of the Cape Town Convention, Boeing is just elated about our progress. They know that this government is now serious about attracting investors, and they are now standing ahead of us to help us network them.
Right.
Now, in January, good news, in January, there's an international conference in Dublin, Ireland, of all the aircraft, leasers and financiers around the world, international conference. Boeing is leading us there to meet them. And we are taking all the aircraft airline operators to that conference to begin to, negotiate deals. So there's a gestation period for what we have just done, this, a Cape Town Convention. We're looking at a gestation period. Nigerians will be patient. We are there already. We're attracting the world. We're attracting investors. The gestation period will come, will soon mature, and we'll begin to see the benefit of all of these policies. But then, that is a significant shift in policy. Let's just say that for 1 minute. Significant shift in policy, very clear shift. Because before us, what happened was that we gave up hope and said, look, sorry, we can't do it. In fact, they were even putting down local operators. They had to go and invite Ethiopian Air to come and help us because we lacked the capacity, and so they gave up hope. However, the significant shift in policy is that we have gone to the root of the problem to say, instead of calling help from outside, we will empower people. We will do what others did right. We would rather do what others did right by having access to that credit, to financing, and give our local operators that power to be able to get to that same level that those people we cry to have gotten to.
You seem to be very much engaged with the local operators. A lot of them complain of high taxes, multiple taxation. They have asked time and again, because that's one of the contributors to high fares. What are you doing to streamline taxes in that industry and also plow that money back into infrastructure? Because the second complaint after that is that these funds do not go into improving infrastructure in the sector.
Two things. One, I met all of these on the ground. All of these tariffs and taxes and all that. It is not within my power, because it's not my money. So you can't see me pick my red barrel to say, I'm waiving this, I'm waiving that. That has to do with a higher authority or in collaboration with maybe the Minister of Finance, because those are revenues to federal government. So I cannot, on my own, begin to reduce revenues to federal government. So, we'll collaborate with other people to look at some of these taxes and see what we can do about them. However, in terms of infrastructural development, the way forward, clear way forward, is that we have to go to PPPs. We have no option. All of the infrastructure ministries in Nigeria, blue economy, works, housing, FCT, aviation, water, resources, these are the big infrastructure ministries. None of them can rely on budgetary provisions. We don't have the revenues to fund our big infrastructure. So all of us are going to PPP, but aviation is almost number one in terms of PPPs. So there were efforts we met on the ground, I'm sure you know, in concession of our airports. However, there were complaints about lack of transparency in the process. There were court cases and all of that. We came and said, hey, you know what? All of you fighting over this airport, just skip away. We are going to look at them again, start all over again, get confidence in. The local unions were also, they were complaining because they said they were going to lose jobs if you concession. So they were not carried along. We will carry them along. We'll make sure they don't lose jobs. So I want to assure them, because they always, when they see my interviews, they always get scared when we talk about concessions. But we will carry them along. And so we'll look for the best in the world. I met the president. President said, look, we have no interest. Nobody has any interest. Go and look for the best managers of airports in the world. All over the world, governments have divested from airports. Even Heathrow is not run by British government. They have divested. All of these big airports in the world are run by private, partnership with governments. And that is why you have to go to PPPs. And that's our big plan to concession our airports, to run them for profits.
Okay, next to that, to infrastructure efficiency is also passenger experience. That is key.
Correct.
You go to our airports, whether it's local or international, or especially international, people are being harassed. There's financial extortion. There's delays, that are being instigated so that they compel people to pay some money that is not legitimate. All of this happening. Why do we continue to allow that? I had a friend that came earlier this year from Barcelona. She was flying through Air France. At the airport, they were harassing her. She had to call me. So it doesn't speak well of the country. What are you doing here?
I am not going to run away to say that is not aviation, but that is not aviation.
Right.
People think that everything that happens at the airport is aviation. All of this, most of this harassment, 90% of them are by other agencies. Immigration, customs, NDLA, EFCC. They're all there at the airport.
But it is your job.
Hold on. I said I'm not going to run away from it. I made that point. So we are doing some interagency cooperation on this. We are the landlords. So we are working with the National Security Advisor. As I speak with you, we have obtained, National Security Advisor has obtained 1,000 body cams. Now, the training is ongoing. We want to equip them with body cams. And the body cameras, that's what I mean. The body cams are like CCTV cameras. They are not going to be subject to playback. They're going to be on live transmission to a command center. So a command center has been built for this purpose. So at the airports, you are going to see all the cameras moving live and seeing what they are doing. 1,000. We have shared those 1,000 cameras between FAN, Immigration, Customs, and I think one other agency or so. The National Security Advisor is doing that. The training is going on now. So we are moving with the speed of light in that direction. Nigeria will be proud of us, what we have done at the airport for now, for some time, after some time. But right now, short gap method, we have put, if you go to international airport in Lagos, we have put phone numbers there for people to instantly call when they're harassing you. We put a code. In fact, I put it there on my Twitter page. I say, scan this code immediately. We are trying to push people, to report to us. The last time we saw one shameful video of an immigration guy trying to extort somebody, we as FAN, because we are the landlords, we threw him out of the airport because we have a right to throw any of them out of the airport. These things, we are putting all our efforts together. Or we understand what it does to the image of this country, to tourism and all of that. But like I tell you with all of this I'm telling you right now, that is verifiable. Nigerians will be proud of their airports in a few months to come. Okay. Especially when those cameras come on. When those cameras come on, then of course, and I'm using this opportunity to appeal to our law enforcement agents at the airport. Please, 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 every action of, each and every one of them can put Nigeria in a bad light. We are appealing to them to think of the image of this country before they think of their pockets. Okay.
So Emirates Airline is back into Nigeria. Will there be a reciprocal flight to places like Dubai? Because that's one of the things that our domestic airlines are asking for.
We have secured the right.
Right.
It's just to activate it.
Okay.
Of course, I went to the UAE. It's not, we're not reinventing the wheel. It has always been there. So let's not say like we're reinventing the wheel. It's always been there, reciprocal. But what do? You try to, first of all, secure it in a manner that is clever enough to ensure that you can access any of their airports. So we put it there. I insisted. To where in Nigeria, they said any point in Nigeria. To where in the UAE, we said any point in the UAE, whether it's Sharjah or DXB or, and all that. So we put it there. We secured that, for our local airlines. We also secured for them the right to code share or interline. And we said they should have the rights of first refusal in terms of code sharing and interlining. We're also taking it beyond there. Well, Emirates Airline at the end of the day is still a foreign airline. But they are big enough to cater for most of our needs now in terms of the fact that they come here, they play in the aviation ecosystem. And then, of course, when this government came in, we did realize immediately that the relationship that was strained with the UAE was hurting Nigerians. Our drive to go back to UAE was not an act of self-glorification or the fact that we just wanted, to do it for the sake. We understood that Nigerians wanted it. And because we were fighting for Nigerians, we needed to go back there to restore relationships with the UAE, and that's what we did. So now we've told them that, look, we can go beyond that. Qatar is building one of the biggest hubs in Rwanda now. That's a direct foreign. That's what we're talking about, not Ethiopian Air coming to parasite on us.
Okay.
We say, come and build a big hub for Nigerians to be employed 100% here. Build a big hub. Let you be a hub for West Africa so that you can come here. Our local airlines can go and bring in people here. You can interline with them. Let them go and bring passengers here for you to clear to Dubai, and all that. We're talking about all that bigger plans than even just resumption of flights for the benefit of the aviation industry here.
Two quick issues. High insurance or premium costs for Nigerian airlines and high aviation costs. Those are killers.
Correct. Insurance, we are having a big meeting next week with the National Insurance Commission. In fact, the DG visited last 2 weeks with his people, and then we are calling a general meeting of stakeholders, AON, Presidential Enabling Council. I am presiding. Everybody is coming. And the problem is the same thing like dry leases we told you about, ACMIs. They come with, the wet leases come with insurance too. And insurance are very expensive when you bring them in like that. So what the international leases say, let me break it down for you in 30 seconds, is that when they are giving you an aircraft, all aircraft was insured. They insist that the insurance cannot be placed in the local market.
Yes.
They said we are not big enough. And I apologize to our local insurers. They said they are not big enough to accommodate that type of insurance because it's very, very expensive. So when you give it to our local insurance, they go and reinsure in Lloyd's in London, also reinsure abroad. And that is like double insurance. And that is carried on again to what? To the tickets. And that's why you see high tickets. So we are appealing to the National Insurance Commission. They also have their local content they are protecting. So this is where we're trying to find a balance. We are telling the National Insurance Commission, can you relax it a bit so that for aviation, we can place the insurance in the international market to satisfy the international users. Well, they say, well, but we have to also protect our local insurers too, to make them grow. That is the balance we are trying to find in all the meetings we're holding. And I'm going to inform Nigerians as we go on. But it's a delicate issue I'm looking at. But then we also have to look ultimately at the welfare of the passengers. Who the high cost of this insurance, they bear the high cost of this insurance ultimately in the tickets. We are looking at that. That is a major issue. We are holding a major, stakeholders conference on next week, and I'm presiding over that. So I am on top of all of that. We are on top of all of it. And we're going to find solutions to these problems.
Your title says Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development. We don't hear the aerospace bit. What is happening on that front?
Aerospace is
aeronautics and the rest of them.
Aerospace is getting bigger than the other one.
Right. Okay. Tell us about that.
We want to develop
briefly.
aerotropolis. What they say aerospace development, what it means is that both especially the non-aeronautical side of the airports, we want to earn revenues from the because the airports consist of aeronautical revenues and non-aeronautical revenues. What are the non-aeronautical revenues? They are the aerotropolis. That is the aerospace, the space. And so we want to make sure we develop 5-star hotels, conference centers, shopping complexes, just, schools, flying school, everything that you see in an aerotropolis. We want to develop all of these hubs, into big aerotropolis.
When?
We are concessioning, we are advertising. Everybody's talking to the adverts are coming out very soon and inviting the world to come on. Look, they said only 3 airports are viable, okay? The 3 big airports. You heard my MD say so, the other day. But we have 30-something airports. They say they are not viable. But during our tenure now, people are rushing. Those airports that they said they were not viable before because they saw our plans. I'll mention the airports. Enugu, nobody bidded for Enugu when we went to concession. Port Harcourt, nobody bidded for them. Port Harcourt has everybody rushing it now. Like we used to say in Secretary Nadem, they rush us. So they are rushing. Bidders are rushing now for those airports that they thought were not viable. Because as it is now, we have rolled out our plans for this aerotropolis, the development of aerotropolis, and those can be big money earners. Do you know that all over the world, the non-aeronautical side of airports earn more than the aeronautical side of the airports? So we want to develop them into big, hubs. And for other activities,
right?
And then we can sustain our airports through that.
We're almost out of time. In just a few seconds, poor airport airline connection within Africa. What are you and your colleagues talking or discussing about that? Are you doing anything in a few seconds?
Aerotropolis, that's the hub.
Right.
You just said the same thing. It's same. You have to develop into proper hubs. Nigeria is well placed, better placed than Addis Ababa to be the hub of Africa.
Okay.
We are equidistant to everywhere. And you can see that we want to restart the Brazil route. The president says start the Brazil route again. And then, you know, we're about to start the Brazil route. You saw the news that came out yesterday. We're talking with the Brazilian ambassador here. We're trying to resign a new BASA. You know, we have designated 2 airlines to start the Brazil route. So 6 hours here, 7 hours to Dubai, 6 hours to Europe, 6 hours to South Africa. We're in the middle of the world.
Minister,
to forestall the sanity and uphold the integrity of our aviation sector,